Good afternoon. Today's jury verdict in the case against former Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia is a fitting end to this saga. Correa made a lot of promises, a lot of bold statements in business, in politics, and in government. The jury found today in its verdict the truth. He defrauded investors, lied on his taxes, and extorted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes as mayor of Fall River. In business, he promoted himself as a successful app developer. Not quite. As the jury found today, the truth is that he went to people who trusted him, who believed in him, and he took their investments for an app, but he used the money mostly for himself, for romantic getaways, for casinos, cars, adult entertainment, sex toys. Appalling. He even used some of the money to fund his mayoral campaign in Fall River. And in politics and government, he promoted himself as the man with honest answers for Fall River. But in the end, he sold his office. He extorted bribes from people who wanted to open marijuana dispensaries in his city. He sold his office and he sold out the people of Fall River. That is illegal. The successful conclusion of this case marks another instance in which the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts has fulfilled its role to find, investigate, and prosecute public corruption. We don't run for office, we don't campaign. We prosecute public corruption without fear and without favor. And as long as I'm here, we're going to continue doing that. This is not the end. Now, this case was a significant one, but thanks to the hard work of the men and women in my office and the criminal investigators who worked with them, it was not a close case. They uncovered overwhelming evidence of the defendant's crimes, and they were rewarded today with the jury's verdict. I also want to thank the court. Under exceptionally difficult circumstances, the presiding judge was masterful. He ran a fair and safe trial. It's a credit to him and to the District Court of Massachusetts. I want to thank the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Internal Revenue Service, Department of Housing and Urban Development, OIG, and the Massachusetts OIG. Without their help, we could not have been successful. And with that, I'll turn it over to the special agent in charge for the Federal Bureau of Investigation in Boston, Joe Bonavolanta.
Thank you, Nate, and good afternoon, everybody. Today's verdict makes it clear that you can't trade on your office, embrace a culture of pay to play, and get away with it. Jasiel Correia was only a two-term mayor, but he has done lasting damage to the trust bestowed upon him by the citizens of Fall River. In lying to investors and extorting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to support his lavish lifestyle, he put his own self-interests above those who he was elected to serve. Everyone deserves access to a level playing field, and the excuse of business as usual isn't good enough to the hardworking citizens who rely on their governments to do right by them and their families. We thank the jurors for their service and thoughtful deliberations, and remind the public that cases like this only serve as fuel to the FBI's commitment in tackling public corruption at all levels of government. As always, this was a true team effort, and I would like to thank Acting United States Attorney Mendel and his tremendous team of prosecutors, as well as the investigative agents out of the FBI Boston Division's Lakeville Resident Agency, and our partners with the IRS, HUD OIG, and Massachusetts State OIG. Thank you.
IRS Criminal Investigations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Assistant Special Agent David Toy with the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation. Today's jury verdict proves two important facts regarding Mr. Correa's conduct as an elected official and as a businessman. First, as mayor of Fall River, Massachusetts, Mr. Correa betrayed the public trust by engaging in a bribery and extortion scheme. Elected officials are rightly held to a higher standard and are expected to set the example of honesty and adherence to the rule of law. Mr. Correa did neither. Secondly, as a businessman, Mr. Correa abused his position as a partner in Snow Owl and engaged in wire fraud in furtherance of a multi-year investment fraud scheme. The jury agreed that Mr. Correa must be held accountable for his actions. We applaud their decision. If nothing else, this conviction will serve as a clear message to others who contemplate such behavior that they will be brought to justice, despite their positions. Thank you.
Massachusetts Inspector General.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glenn Cunha, Massachusetts IG. Today's verdict demonstrates that government employees, particularly elected officials, are accountable to the public, and they'll be held accountable for their actions. I want to thank all of our partners that we collaborated with in this investigation, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, HUD OIG, and we will continue to work closely with them in investigations that we do together.
Take some questions.
Why did you call Jen Andre to the stand, considering her involvement that she administered many of the charges?
It was our judgment that that wouldn't have been in the best interest of the case.
Did you change your mind now that you see that Mr. Correa was acquitted on the count involving her salary kickback?
We're happy with the verdict that was rendered. There's always second guessing to be done, but we're happy with how we tried the case. We believe we did it the right way.
Can you give us a sense of, under federal sentencing guidelines, what sort of sentence you might face?
What I will do is tell you that he faces a maximum penalty of 20 years.
I don't mean the statutory, I mean the sentencing guidelines.
What I will tell you is the statute provides for a maximum penalty of 20 years. The guideline range I expect to be less than that. However, he does face a significant penalty.
Do you expect anybody else, your expectation that is, anybody else to be indicted or prosecuted in connection with Correa's case?
This is the end of the process for former Mayor Correa, but maybe not the end of the process.
Can you talk about, like, this is obviously the marijuana industry in Massachusetts, sort of a Philly new. Is there a message here for other, municipalities that have the sole authority to take away from these licenses?
Well, from the outset of legalization of marijuana, there's always been a concern that it would open the door to abuses and corruption. This case proves the theory that, in fact, the system here is ripe for abuse, and in this case was abused.
Will you make any argument to the judge to go outside the guidelines higher?
I won't comment on that now.
Did you ever offer Jasiel a plea deal? And if so, when in the process was it and what happened?
I'm not going to comment on that.
To be clear, is it 20 years total or per count? That's the total maximum?
20 is the maximum he would face.
On the way out of the courthouse, Jasiel said that he was offered a plea deal and he turned it down because he was not guilty. Can you respond to that?
The jury found that, in fact, he is guilty. Guilty of extortion, guilty of lying on his taxes, and guilty of defrauding investors. I'll leave it at that.
His attorney suggested part of the appeal might turn on the unusual circumstances relating to the pandemic. He raised those concerns prior to the trial as well. How concerned are you in terms of this case, having to defend that point on appeal, and just broadly for criminal cases that you're going to have to deal with in this sort of interim time before things are fully open?
Well, this case and this trial was a model for how to conduct a fair criminal trial under extremely difficult circumstances, in this case the pandemic. The court went to great lengths to ensure the comfort and the safety of every participant, but also to protect the rights of all the litigants. We're confident in that.
The fact that this went on for quite some time in Fall River, what should the citizens of Fall River think about the integrity of their political system as a whole? Jasiel Correia aside, is it a dirty, corrupt political system in Fall River?
I think my response to that is to say what I said earlier, that the role of this office is to find, investigate, and prosecute public corruption, and we're not done.